10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 0 pucks given.
And he manages to get it wide to Jacob Minter. Yeah, good job with the shot, and the Slough Jets have taken the lead on the power play with 23 Russell with the shot cross goal. No need for the save from Lorday, and Campbell finds himself in, and it is 3-1 to the Chelsea Chieftains. They have
0 pucks given.
Hello and welcome to Zero Pucks Given, the UK Ice Hockey Podcast. Remember, we're not just a podcast, we are a one-stop media shop for the NIHL 1 South and beyond, doing live game updates, live stream commentary, bringing you Hockey Night Live in 2025, and hopefully eventually live streaming ourselves. Firstly, I'd like to tell you about our partners, starting with Hockey Art Co, who create hockey-inspired clothing that is so creative and artistic and excellent quality as well. With all sorts of clothing items for on and off ice, including some awesome band-themed jerseys, as well as training gear, listeners to the ZPG network get a 10% discount on everything from hockeyartclothing.co.uk when you use the code ZP10. We are also in partnership with Manscaped, the globally recognised male grooming brand that have top-of-the-range products such as the lawnmower, the weed whacker, the beard hugger, the Dome Shaver Pro. These products are really good. I use them myself. They're waterproof, so you can use them in the shower. They have ceramic blades, so no cuts and no nicks. And the lawnmower also has a light, which is very handy for those hard-to-see places. Plus, super fast charging and a long run time makes these the best wireless shavers on the market. You can get 20% off of everything at manscaped.com when you use the code 0pucks20. And finally, we are part of the Sports Social Podcast Network, the biggest podcast network in Europe, boasting over 500 podcasts from more than 20 different sports. And we're thrilled that the ZPG network, including Zero Pucks Given and ZPG Ice Maidens, is a part of it. Hello, welcome along. This is episode 135. I'm Ben, and this is Zero Pucks Given. A massive thank you to everyone for listening to last week's Roundup episode and, of course, the JJ Pitchley episode, which I thought was really good. I've had people say they weren't sure whether they would listen to it, like he's not the sort of player that you don't love unless he plays for your team. But I tell you, I've had a terrific response from it. Not only is he incredibly knowledgeable on British hockey, vastly experienced as well, but he's also a top bloke and spoke very well about everything we touched on in that episode. So once again, thanks to JJ for joining me, and thank you to everyone for listening. We were gate crashing the top 10 of the charts again with our friends at 4,000 and Counting, 3on3 podcast, and the guys over at Chasing the Puck. So plenty of British representation amongst the Chicklets and 32 Thoughts. So let's get the news then. Some roster news from across the Britain division as the stable door swings open at Invicta and Vilius Krakauskas and Callum Burnett make their way into the open fields. Krakauskas seems to have started quite well at the Moes, and Burnett for me is a solid defenseman who puts up points as well as having a very mature head on such young shoulders. So either will be a great pickup for any club in the Britain division. Dops news is pretty much non-existent for the Britain division this week, although there are a couple of bans in the WNIHL for fighting, which is often misheard of. So for more news on that, I know we spoke about it briefly on last week's episode, check out ZPG Ice Maidens. Also, some other news kind of regarding hockey as a wider area of sport. Field hockey has got itself a 3-year deal to be shown on Channel 4 and on YouTube. I think it's fantastic for field hockey to get that. It's going to be showing the international games of the men and the women. As far as I know, there's going to be no domestic hockey shown in that. But in all honesty, in comparison to our hockey, is domestic field hockey as supported? I don't think it is. Obviously, they do play outside, so I know it's a lot more difficult to get arenas and crowds and areas for it to actually go and be watched. And whilst I do think this is a terrific thing for field hockey, I am a field hockey fan. As a younger kid, when I couldn't afford to play ice hockey, I turned to field hockey instead, and I did play field hockey. So I do think it's a great thing for the sport, and it's a good sport to watch. But it does sort of kind of scream as to why has ice hockey not got that outlet? You know, Channel 4 are going to be showing field hockey for 3 years, and just the internationals. Just jump on the GB. Do you know, we've got the GB ladies Olympic qualifiers coming up in December. If that was going to be on Channel 4 or, one of the other, even one of the streaming services like DAZN or someone like Eurosport to show that live, but maybe not from behind a paywall, and get it out there to as many people as possible. Hopefully this helps field hockey grow a little bit, and maybe their domestic scene will become a little bit more popular from it. But yeah, for me, as happy as I was for field hockey to get that deal, I've got to tell you that stung a little bit, that everything that we've been doing over the past few years in hockey to try and get it a little bit more into the mainstream. Is it working? Clearly isn't, because field hockey had sort of taken the jump on us and getting a little bit more out there. I don't know. As I said, that's only going to be international stuff that they're showing. So I don't know whether it's got to be perhaps all the owners and all the teams in this country in ice hockey. It's got to take a little bit more of an approach similar to the American setup, where all the owners are not considered competition to each other. They're business partners. They're all there for the greater good. Do you know what I mean? And even with all of our teams here, we have with all the owners, we know in the National League there's one guy that owns two teams, which, I'm not entirely sure how that works as a conflict of interest, but it does work. You guys are all in this together to make the sport better. The rivalry is on the ice, and that's the only place that it is. Off the ice, it should all be working together to get something like this. If they could get this for our national teams, it would be a big boost. And I think it would then lead on to getting our domestic game, probably just maybe the top two levels, but I definitely think it would be getting it a little bit of mainstream media sort of attention. Not that we like to pay too much attention to what the mainstream media says these days, but for sport-wise, getting a TV deal was massive for field hockey, and I do feel a little bit for ice hockey that they haven't been awarded with something so similar. So the games from this weekend, it's crunch time in the Cup as semi-final places get closer and closer to being confirmed. The teams slated to be the top three all have a chance at 6-point weekends as the Chieftains make their trip to Cardiff. The Red Hawks are on the road visiting Romford and MK, plus the Devils and the Jets complete their 4-game series, although they could meet in the Cup semi-finals. So that is where we'll start. 5 p.m. face-off at the Gosport Ice Arena, where the landing crew awaited the arrival of the high-flying Slough Jets. Incredibly, this game at Gosport was the 4th time these two have faced each other already this season, with Slough taking victory in all 3 of the previous encounters. But the usual fast start at Solent saw the game start very tight, and it only caught fire when the Devils took a too many men bench penalty on 9:34. Penalty killed by the home side. Both sides took penalties on 12:29, where Bradburn for Slough and Banner for Solent sat for holding. After those penalties expired, Ryan Sutton sat for high sticks on 14:48, but no score in the first. Into the second, and it was the home side that took the lead as Harry Harkup assisted Cameron Buckle to make it 1-0 to Solent on 25:50. The remainder of the second period continued to be tight until former Solent Devils captain Alex Cole assisted Christian Moore to make it 1-0 on 38:59. Into the third, and again the game continued to be tight on that small pad until the Slough Jets took the lead when Miles and Affleck assisted Luke Smittle to make it 2-1 on 45:32. As we headed towards the final 10 minutes, the Jets pulled further ahead when Clark assisted Seb Moore to make it 3-1 to Slough on 49:23. On 51:43, Alex Cole received 2 minutes for slashing, but with that penalty killed and a 2-goal margin in the game, Solent pulled Aaron Taylor, and on 59 flat, Luke Smittle went unassisted to grab the empty netter to make it 4-1 to the Slough Jets, giving them a clean sweep of the 4-game series against the Devils. Man of the match performances from both goalkeepers tell you how tight the game was. For Slough, it's a trip to the Oxpens on Sunday. For the Solent Devils, a huge milestone for captain Callum Perella-Fox as he notches up 200 appearances for the Devils. But it's another 1-game weekend without a win. Player coach Alex Murray gave his thoughts to ZPG.
Yeah, single fixture this weekend. Repeat of the weekend before. This time at home against Slough after the weekend previously playing at the Hangar. And similar sort of theme. Probably the best performance we've given them this year, and we haven't given them any. But I think for probably 39 and a half minutes, we were the better team. In particular, the second period where we had some really good chances. We probably deserved to be more than 1 up. We probably should have been more than 1-0 up, given some of the chances that we had. Matt Smith played great in goal, and we also weren't clinical, which a bit of deja vu there in terms of from the previous week. And look, that they scored with about 20, 25 seconds left in the second after a prolonged period of our dominance in their end for the majority of that second. Going in the end of the second 1-1 was a real deflating moment, and one we didn't recover very well from into the third. We talked about how we needed to get back the momentum, because Slough would have gone in buoyant after pulling it back, and credit to Slough, they were much fresher and physical in the third. They kind of took over, and whilst we still had our chance in the third, I think they were much more clinical with theirs. And when you are a little bit tired, and you're chasing a game, you go 1 goal, 2-1 down, then you're chasing, guys' shifts start to creep up, and you try and put back out the same guys more regular, naturally, whilst chasing a game. And they were patient, and they waited, and they took their chances. And look, we still came close. We had the goalie pulled and had a couple of good shots. Again, Smits did pretty well saving those, and they get an empty netter to make it 4-1, which I don't think is a true reflection on the game, but is a tough lesson for us. And we've improved as the year's gone on over Slough. That's our 4 games done against them now, which is pretty weird before Christmas. But I think for me, what I said to the guys was we haven't actually given them a proper performance yet. I felt that we played a good game on Saturday, but ultimately came away with nothing, and that's a difficult thing to take. But it's another lesson that the boys can learn from, and we've now got a sporadic December, which kind of helps us, given our injury list is growing and our availability of players is shortening. And we've got a big weekend now, a single fixture against Milton Keynes away, and we've got to get back in to the swing of things. After 2 weekends of picking up no points, we're probably dropping down the table while other teams catch us up in terms of games played, and we really want to be keeping in the hunt with those top 4, and fingers crossed we start that with a game at the Thunderdome and picking up 3 points.
The Streatham Red Hawks started their weekend road trip with a visit to the Sapphire to face the Buccaneers, and raced out of the blocks when Pitchley and Steed assisted Aidan Doughty to make it 1-0 on just 23 seconds. 8 minutes later, the Red Hawks doubled their advantage when Pitchley and Paynter assisted Henry Aiken to make it 2-0 on 8:22. Before the end of the first, the visitors had scored again when Toombs and Jared Lane assisted Danny Ingoldsby to make it 3-0 on 14:02. Streatham captain Ryan Watt took a 2-minute slashing penalty on the buzzer, meaning the second would start with a power play. A theme that continued throughout the second period, as Henry Aiken, Harvey Steed, Roman Cathcart and Danny Ingoldsby all took penalties for Streatham. The Bucks unable to break the Red Hawks' penalty kill, and having to kill themselves after Shea Woolmore and Billy Coe took penalties, but no addition to the score. Into the third, and both sides took penalties on 45-12 when Aiken and Woolmore took a seat, but when Megas Canis took a holding penalty, the Red Hawks punished the Bucks as Danny Ingoldsby grabbed his second to make it 4-0 to Streatham on 50:03. Power play goal. Assists to Baird and Paynter on that goal, both gaining their 10th assists of the season there. The dynamic duo got on the board when Ziggy Beasley assisted Ryan Watt to make it 5-0 on 51:10. On 54:05, Ethan Lane took a 2-minute penalty for roughing, and whilst the Bucks had the man advantage, Streatham broke through them again as Watt and Norcliffe assisted Thomas Skokan to make it 6-0 to Streatham on 55:31, short-handed goal. With Ethan Lane still in the box, Romford then pulled one back when Taylor and Campbell assisted Shea Woolmore to make it 6-1 on 55:53, power play goal. Streatham closed the game out with 2 further goals. Firstly, Danny Ingoldsby completing his hat-trick, assisted by Paynter on 57:02, before Brittle and Aiken assisted Aidan Doughty with his second of the night and 8th of the season to make it 8-1 to Streatham on 58:33. The top side starting to hit top gear as we head towards the Christmas period. For Streatham, it's a trip to MK on Sunday that will surely can see them continue their vein of good form. For the Bucks, they will head to Chelmsford for the Essex Derby and look for redemption ahead of November's overtime defeat. Saturday also saw the Chieftains make the long trip west to Cardiff to face the Fire, and with bus legs possibly playing a part, The home side started hot and took the lead when Racine assisted Rob Price to make it 1-0 Cardiff on 2:58. Chelmsford regathered their composure and equalised when Power assisted Haldon Barnes-Garner to make it 1-1 on 6:40. The rest of the first saw the Chieftains dominate the puck but not able to force the scoreline further. Into the second, and there was penalty trouble for both teams as Lack and Kazunovs made their way to the box for misconduct and cross-checking respectively on 27:37. Fire quickly gained a man advantage though when Dan Hitchens was boxed for roughing on 28:58, but the visitors' PK unit came out on top. As we headed towards the end of the second, the home side retook the lead when Lewis Stevens assisted Bailey Hind-Pitcher to make it 2-1 Cardiff on 37:02. Before the period was out, though, a celebratory moment for the Chieftains as Cam Bartlett notched his 300th assist for the Chelmsford club when he laid on for Alan Lack to make it 2-2 on 38:55. Massive congratulations to Cam for that incredible achievement, and he is only the 8th player to reach that milestone for the Chieftains. Quinn and Barnes-Garner roughed and interfered on the buzzer, ensuring they would start the third having a seat. However, just 16 seconds into the third period, the visitors took the lead for the first time when Dix and Cam Bartlett assisted Alan Lack for his second goal to make it 3-2 Chelmsford on 40:16. On 48:52, the Bartlett family celebrations continued as Grant Bartlett, celebrating his 400th appearance for the Chieftains, 13th player to reach that marker, got his 22nd assist of the season when he fed Cam Bartlett for his 22nd goal of the season to make it 4-2 on 48:52. With the gap at 2 heading into the final minutes, Sheppard made the call to pull the goalie for the extra man on the ice, but Grant Bartlett topped his milestone off even further by adding to the score with his 17th goal of the season into the empty net to make it 5-2 on 57:41. The game was finished off 60 seconds later when Power and Wells assisted Haldon Barnes-Garner for his second of the night and topping off a well-fought road victory. For Shepherd's Fire, it's a local-ish derby at the Link Centre where the Wildcats have been purring in recent weeks. For the Chieftains, the real Essex derby and a chance to confirm their Cup semi-final spot. Sunday night saw the Jets head to the Oxpens to face Saunders City Stars, who have had an upturn in their performances of late. However, the Jets got on the power play very early when Chris Beckett sat for high sticks on 1:32. With the penalty killed off, it was an uneventful first until Smittle sat for interference on 19:08. Into the second, and after killing the Smittle penalty, the Jets took the lead when English and Miles assisted the freed Luke Smittle to make it 1-0 to Slough on 25:34. Straight from the restart, the Jets doubled their advantage when Clark and Edworthy assisted Jacob Soper to make it 2-0 on 25:54. Before the second was out, it was 3 when Hemmings Mayer and Seb Moore assisted Carl Bradburn to make it 3-0 to Slough on 35:03. After the third goal, Bundy took a slashing penalty for Oxford, but they managed to kill it off and 3-0 it remained. Into the third, and Oxford pulled one back when Aidan McGurk assisted Casey Wilson to make it 3-1 on 43:02. On 47:31, the Jets moved further ahead when Seb Moore and Jude Affleck assisted Christian Moore to make it 4-1 on 47:31. As the game headed into the final 60 seconds, Slough Jets put the game to bed and secured a 6-point weekend when Soper and Cave Humphrey assisted Aaron Edworthy to make it 5-1 on 59:08. Man of the match performances to Stars goalie Ross Miller and Slough Jets Harvey Harmon. Another 6-point weekend for Lucas Smittle's team as they look to close in on their first Britain Division title. For the Stars, another defeat. However, we've mentioned it's not the games against the top 3 that are going to define their season. But head coach Mark Saunders was positive about his side's performance.
Single game weekend for the Oxford City Stars this weekend as we went to the hangar to take on the Slough Jets for our second meeting of the season. We set ourselves some clear goals in the week as to how we wanted to try and perform this weekend. As soon as we had one game, we managed to get a couple of guys back through the fitness tests to take the ice last night, which was pleasing. 3 lines and a couple of spares, so we were more than ready for the challenge that was going to come our way last night. And I'm really pleased with our performance. The group is pleased with our performance. We spoke pre-game and post-game with what we wanted to achieve and how we felt we met those standards or not. I think for the most part, Ross Miller was absolutely outstanding again last night. We know that. We know he competes on a night-in, night-out basis. And we managed to keep most of the shots to the outside. We managed to execute our D zone pretty well. And our neutral zone was pretty solid as well. I'd have liked to have seen us generate some more offense, but I think when you're trying to put lines together that haven't normally played together and you've mixing guys up a little bit. I'm pleased with the way the guys bought in and how they performed. And for the most part, really pleasing to come away with what was a good performance for us last night. I think it was a bit of a shame to concede the fifth one with something like 50 seconds left. But, sometimes it breaks that way when you're tired and you're fatigued and you've been executing systems that long for a night. But I'm pleased with the way that we got off last night, and the group is buoyant and we're ready for what's going to be a really tough December month for us. And the group is tracking well. I'm pleased to get some boys back in from injury, even though we've lost a couple of others as well. But pleased to have Will Birch back for the game last night. A couple of other standout performances for us. Guys executing D-zone really well, as I said. And I'm really pleased with the way the game went last night from our standpoint. To play the way that we did with the ferocity that we did, I think we were good, and I'd like to generate some more offense, as I said. But we'll see how we get through the rest of the month of December, and we'll prep this week for a tough weekend as we head into Romford away on Saturday, and we host Streatham at home on Sunday. So the games are coming thick and fast, and the group is ready for the challenges that are coming ahead.
To the Link Centre then, as the Wildcats look to continue to hand out Sunday night bloody noses with the visit of the Fire, and they took the lead early when Sagan assisted Luca Kirk-Brown to make it 1-0 Swindon on 6:52. The Wildcats had a power play chance when Barnwell sat for tripping on 11:02, but the Fire held strong. On 15:19, Alfie Druitt received a 10-minute misconduct penalty. I'm guessing we'll hear more about that in DOPS next week. But as the period was drawing to a close, the Wildcats doubled their lead when Ray Anithercell assisted the impressive Jay Warren for his 9th goal of the season to make it 2-0 on 19:03. Into the second, and the spiky atmosphere continued as Aaron Moody and Josh Burnett received 5 each for fighting, Moody the extra 2 for instigator. Just as the Fire looked to have come through the middle 20 unscathed, Lewis James received 2 for elbows, and the Wildcat special teams went to work as they beat the buzzer when Turner and Nethercell assisted Ollie Stone to make it 3-0 on 39:57 power play goal. At the start of the third, Alfie Druitt, now back on the ice, received a 2-minute interference penalty on 42:13, and with the man advantage, Cardiff pulled one back when Lloyd and Thilbert assisted Ewan Davis to make it 3-1 on 44:09 power play goal. As we got into the last 10 minutes, the game exploded. Firstly, a George Howe tripping penalty gave the Fire another power play opportunity, which they took when Hind Pitcher and Kazianovs assisted Lewis Stevens to pull Cardiff back within 1 goal on 53:20 power play goal. The Fire then killed off a Carter Lloyd tripping penalty on 55:40 before going empty-netted in the final seconds to force overtime. But the Wildcats settled the game when Turner assisted Jay Warren for the empty netter to make it 4-2 Swindon on 59:43. After the restart, a bit of a melee saw Turner and Nethercell for Swindon and Kazianovs and Llewellyn for Cardiff all received game penalties for fighting, Kazianovs getting an extra game penalty for an as-yet undisclosed offence. Now, fighting in the last 5 minutes will earn you a ban anyhow, but as we said earlier, DOPS will certainly be an exciting release on Saturday. The game was a 3-point success for the Wildcats, though, and you can sympathise with Elis Sheppard where he thinks his side were a little unlucky.
Our game Saturday against the reigning playoff champions, the Chieftains, I really liked our first and second period. We knew they were a quality outfit and we had to limit their grade A scoring chances. We also took the lead twice, going 1-0 up and then 2-1 respectively. It was a real good first 2 periods from ourselves. Unfortunately, third, they got a quick one and we never really recovered. Our heads dropped ever so slightly. We pulled the goalie to try and get one back, and ultimately they put the game out of sight, which is frustrating. I've come onto this podcast a few times, but there are plenty of positives that we can take away from running, a well-established team so close. The Swindon game, I did expect a little bit more from the boys. To be honest, I thought we were good for the first 5 minutes of the first. They get one on the rush, and we never really recover for the first period. Second period was more of an even contest. We were unlucky not to score a few goals. And the third, if we played like that the whole game, I would have been confident with the victory. We, good buck possession, pucks in deep, some real nice attributes that the team had. And, it just frustrating that it was the last period that it came to fruition. Overall, disappointing, but again, as I've alluded to previously, this is our first year in NIHL 1. with a brand new team. There's so many positives, and to see the player growth and the team growth from where we were at the start of the season to now, it, as a coach, it's great to see. I'm confident that in a few years' time, that if we keep the same outfit, that you'll see a big difference from us as well.
Romford Buccaneers made their way to the Riverside to face the Chieftains in the league and the cup, knowing they had to win to hold any chance of semi-final qualification, whereas the Chieftains knew a win would guarantee their place in the final four. The home side have made a habit recently of scoring on the first shift, but you could sense a touch of fatigue perhaps from the long away trip on Saturday. After the home side had rolled their lines, the top line did come to fruition, and after celebrating their milestones from Cardiff the night before, the Bartlett bros were doing the damage again as Cam fed Grant just over the blue line in the middle as he toe-dragged around two before sitting Van Mullum down and finishing for 1-0 Chelmsford on 4:27. The home side killed off a Cam Bartlett slashing penalty on 8:40, but neither side really exerted themselves in the first. Into the second, the Chieftains pinned the Buccaneers in, forcing some incredible work from the ever-impressive Max Van Mullum. As a side note, when you catch this kid live, you will be impressed, and that is a promise. But when a series of blocked shots flew out to Dix on the blue line, he fed Cam Bartlett, who worked his way across the slot to find the angle to risk the beauty in the near side top shelf for 2-0 on 25:18. The deficit was halved soon after when Wakeling brought the puck out of her defensive zone after receiving it from Migas Canis, playing his 100th game for the Buccaneers. Congratulations to Migas. All leading to Shea Woolmore firing in the near side top corner from a near impossible angle on the right-hand side to make it 2-1 on 27:13, Woolmore's second goal of the weekend. The home side extended their lead further when Barnes Garner fed Power up centre ice, but when his control got away from him and he chased it into the corner, he reversed it to the slot where Sasha Maltsev came onto it and smashed it in for 3-1 on 32:20. Before the period was out, Chieftains virtually killed the game off when a very well-timed line change saw Lack able to feed the puck up centre ice to an unmarked Cam Bartlett, who bared down on goal, and when joined by Grant Bartlett, the two played a 1-2 that bamboozled the Bucks' defence and allowed Cam to slide the puck into an unguarded net on 35:57. Into the third, and the Bucks had to kill off two Maguire penalties, the second of which he was joined by Alan Lack 50 seconds later, before Dylan Dix and Lack were both in the box, and with the Buccaneers applying a lot of pressure, they managed to bundle the puck over the line to make it 4-2 on 58:25 power play goal. Despite a small period of empty net play, then having to kill off a Woolmore tripping penalty, the result was confirmed and the Chieftains confirmed their appearance in the Cup semi-final. After his side played some good hockey over the weekend but came away with no points, Bucks coach Jason Buckman gave his thoughts to ZPG.
Tough weekend against two of the league's sides pushing for titles. Saturday against Streatham, we only really played well for one period. That isn't good enough really. Yes, we're short benched again. No Raiders players this time, so I'm sure that'll make some coaches happy. But yeah, really tough game. One period of being competitive just isn't enough against a side like Streatham. Sunday again away to Chelmsford, again short benched, which I'm sure made Cliff happy. But felt we competed for most of the game, and couldn't be prouder of the 12 guys we had on the bench there for that game. They put in a shift, which is always a tough place to go, and especially a derby match. So yeah, we have to look forward, hopefully get a couple of guys back in the next couple of weeks and move on.
And with his side seemingly hitting form at the right time after this 4-2 win, Chieftains head coach Lewis Clifford gave his thoughts to the podcast.
Yeah, long old weekend for the Chieftains this weekend. Saturday we were down in Cardiff, and as we knew going into the game, Cardiff have been good at home this year and held teams close for long parts of games, and this weekend was no different. It was 1-1 end of first, 2-2 end of second, and we found ourselves in a spot where we knew we had to get going then in the third period and make sure we took the points. And credit to the boys, we did that. Got moving and ended up running out 6-2 winners in the end. But fair play to Cardiff; they're a very, very different team to the one we faced at home. even though the scoreline ended up kind of similar. But as usual, Cardiff very difficult to play against in their own rink when they've got lots of bodies and huge numbers, and you have to really give them credit that sort of that travel that we did on Saturday that we found long and quite taxing. They do that most weekends, so we can't bleat on about long travel and 4+ hours on the road each way. But we were happy to come away from Cardiff with any kind of 3-point win, which we did. When we rolled into Sunday against Romford, second time we've played Romford this year, first time at home. Obviously, they took a point from us in the opposite fixture probably a month or so ago. It was they were a little bit light on bodies. Not sure why or what was going on there, but they made us work for it, and we struggled. It was at times like watching hockey in slow motion. I think the long travel, and we played Saturday with a relatively short bench. I think that did have its it did take its toll on the boys, and the boys were looking leggy almost from the start to the end. Positives were, well, one, that we won, and it was comfortable in the end, really, despite the 5-3 power play goal that they got towards the end. But we had some, a line of young guys, and they were brilliant, outstanding, actually. And I think all of the other guys were actually more than happy to stay on the bench. And as we started increasing their shifts throughout the game, like real like effort levels, energy levels, and they were creating things on every shift. So that was a huge positive for us, and actually massively needed in the game the way it was, with the tired legs and the tired bodies. But we roll on. That secures us a cup semi-final spot, which we'll obviously deal with when we get to it. For now, we play Swindon this weekend. Obviously, we've played Swindon twice already, once home, once away, and come away with 2 wins. But we really had to work for it when we went down there in the second time we played them. So, we know we need to be ready. Their results have hugely picked up over the last few weeks. So that's not going to be an easy one. So, we're looking forward to that, and hopefully see everybody there. Thanks, everyone, for the support this past weekend. Cheers.
The final game of the weekend was the late face-off at the Thunderdome as the Redhawks headed up the M1 to face the Thunder. Recent results may have had you thinking there would be a rugby score afoot, but a pleasant surprise awaits, as after initially running away with goals from Ethan Lane, Aidan Doughty with 2, and Ben Paynter giving them a 4-0 lead in the first, the Thunder held strong in the second, conceding only once as Aidan Doughty completed his hat-trick on 23:56. At the start of the third, the Thunder pulled one back when Robinson assisted Cole McCluskey to make it 5-1, but that was followed by 3 more Streatham goals, with 2 from Preston Toombs and a second of the night for Ben Paynter, before the only power play goal of the night, when Roman Cathcart scored on a James Bryan penalty, one of only 2 penalties taken by the Thunder in the whole game. A 9-1 victory in the end for the Redhawks, who complete their 6-point weekend. Their player coach Ben Paynter had his say of his side's weekend performances.
Yeah, started our weekend in Romford. First of 2 away games this weekend. It's never easy. First one of the weekend was in Romford, and I was really pleased with how we started. We had a good start. Recent weeks we've spoke about how our starts haven't been good enough, and we need to be ready to play from the opening face off. I think we went a couple of goals up early, which was pleased to see. It's not all about scoring the goals. We had a good part of possession. We were playing the right way and doing the right things early, straight from the start of the game. So I was really pleased with how we went into the game, our mindset, and where we were with it. I think the first period we played well. Had most of the possession. Dealt with whatever Romford really threw at us quite well, and defensively we were sound. Was happy after the first. Going into the second, we tried out some new line combinations, trying some new things, and ultimately didn't have the best of periods. Got ourselves into a little bit of penalty trouble as well. We're a little bit unsettled. It's not ideal, and to be honest, Romford's goalie, young lad, had a really good period in net. Made some really nice saves, and I think we kind of just had a bit of a lull through that second period, which was not ideal. But it's always hard to sort of, when you have a real strong first period and you kind of feel really comfortable, it's difficult to keep chugging along. So something we know about and we need to work on, and something we addressed after the second period, and again shuffled some lines again, tried some new things, and managed to stay out the box for the third, and had a really good third period again. Really, I think we really sort of we controlled most of the game, defensively solid, and yeah, just picked up a road win that pretty convincingly. Then we headed to Milton Keynes on the Sunday night for a 7:30 face-off, which, to be honest with you, I don't think anybody enjoys on a Sunday night. It's not ideal, especially when you've got to go to work the next day. But go into that game, and I felt there was a bit of a feeling in the air that the boys weren't exactly excited to play that game, which is never ideal. But you know what? It's another fixture on the list. Everyone's got to go and play it, and I imagine a lot of teams feel the same way going there on that late on a Sunday. But it is what it is, and again, we got off to a good start and we controlled large portions of the game. I mean, Milton Keynes had a few counter attacks that we dealt with pretty efficiently. And yeah, it was just one of those games we kind of just wanted to get in and out, get the points, and get out of there unscathed. But yeah, we seem to have drop players throughout the game, injuries, etc., and finished the game quite short benched. I think that maybe gave Milton Keynes a little bit of life, and they sort of did put the pressure on at times throughout the game. But I think that was only pressure we kind of allowed them to put on us, and by us just stop moving our feet and taking our foot off the gas. But yeah, all in all, I think it was a pretty bread and butter weekend for us. Nothing too flashy, but got the job done and finished the weekend with another 6 points on the board. So we just keep going week by week.
And Thunder coach Will Fry, I'm sure buoyed by the improved disciplinary display, gave his thoughts to ZPG.
Said to the group beforehand in the changing room that it's a privilege to play against these teams. This is why they should want to play at this level. These are the caliber of opponent that they want to test themselves against. And so far this season, against the big three, shall we say, of Streatham, Chelmsford and Slough, that I don't really feel that whilst we've been competitive at times, we haven't put up a fight for a full 60 minutes and really put in a complete performance against one of these sides. And I think whether that's a willingness that sometimes we've been a little bit timid going into the fixture, or we've had the want to put a fight up and it's been broken by early goals or other events that have taken place in games. But really last night for us, we had a really good training session on Wednesday evening, bouncing back from last weekend where we were disappointed to concede to lose against Oxford. And could we take that into this weekend's game against Streatham and apply the principles that we've been working on? And I think it was a little bit of a turning point on Wednesday where there was a bit of a realisation of how we want to play, and we got the points across that we wanted to, and we saw the group absorb them, and we had a really good training session. And yeah, it was, if we can go and put that into practice against one of the best teams in the league, it's going to obviously put us in a great spot moving forward. So we had a new netminder that we've signed this week. I don't think it's necessarily been announced on our social media pages, but Aaron Burton's come and joined us, transferring up from Bristol Div 2. So he started the game yesterday, and I think he had 89% save percentage, which is fantastic for us. It's great to have an option there now, with the injury problems that we've had with Kieran Hickman and Craig Bradfield, and obviously we've relied pretty heavily on a very young man in Caleb Sheehan, who's done a great job for us. So it's good to have another senior goalie in that we can rely on, that can help with development of Caleb and Alfie Dogood as well. He's on 15-year-old in our prospect system, so he had a great game. And yeah, it's just one of them really. I think we started really well, and Streatham obviously controlled the majority of the game and moved the puck around well, but I think we did a good job in our own zone, defending the right areas, and Streatham, they like to play behind the play a lot, and we did a good job in keeping our head on a swivel and making sure that we were trying to take away the option that they were looking for and not allowing them to dictate necessarily the areas that they wanted to on our ice. And first period, I think the first goal that went in, I've never seen a bounce like that off of plexiglass before, and it's a great finish from the Streatham player to bat it out the air. And then, the second goal for them was just really well played. Third and fourth goals, we were a bit disappointed with. Some luck on our side that we didn't get, and then a couple of bad bounces that we've caused from mismanagement at the puck, and we get punished for it against these teams. So, second period, we've been awful all season. We weren't a second period team. We've struggled with the long change all year. To go out with the second period yesterday and only concede one, and have some chance on net ourselves. And I think we had more shots through the first two periods yesterday than we had in the entire games against them. On the double-header weekend we played home and away earlier in the season. So, that was good. And I think third period we just got a bit leggy. It's great to get a goal, really well-worked goal from us. Nice to see Cole McCluskey scoring. I thought he had a fantastic game yesterday. But, I think we just got a bit leggy towards the end, and, Streatham made us pay for it. So, I don't think Streatham were too happy at the end of the game with the game and the way it had gone, which is, I think, for us a signal that we'd done a good job and we'd frustrated them a little bit. But it's certainly plenty of positives we could take out of the game moving forward, and we'll look forward to hosting Solent next Sunday and hopefully having a good competitive game with them and continuing to put ourselves in a position where we can start to take some points off people. So good position going into Christmas, and now it's just about maintaining it and continuing to grow.
Well, what a great weekend of Britain Division hockey. Let's have a look at this.
Hi, it's Justin Wong, Kenny Wu from the Muddy Ducks, presenting Zero Pucks Given Britain Division Player of the Week.
Player of the Week then. Well, notable weekends for Aidan Doughty with 5 goals, 1 assist. Danny Ingoldsby getting a hat-trick on the Saturday and notching an assist on the Sunday. And Luke Smittle having a very good weekend as well for Slough. But this weekend, with goals and assists between them, plus 2 very impressive milestones reached of 400 total appearances for Grant and 300 assists for Cam, this week's Players of the Week are Chelmsford Chieftains pair, Grant and Cameron Bartlett. Well, let's have a look at the table then after this weekend's results, and it is all change, and it kind of takes on a bit of a familiar look as to what we all expected we will see. Sitting at the top, Slough Jets played 17, won 15, 2 defeats, hit the 100 goal mark this weekend as well. They've now scored 100, conceded 21. They have 45 points. In second place, played 2 games less, is the Streatham Red Hawks. They've played 15, won 14, lost 1, scored 129, 42 points. In third, the Chelmsford Chieftains played 16, won 13, 1 overtime win and 2 defeats. Those, of course, both to Slough and Solent. Streatham's defeat coming at Chelmsford. 41 points for Chelmsford in third. In fourth, then, they were top for a little while, but they are now down in fourth. The Solent Devils played 19, so they are now over halfway through their season. They've won 12, 1 overtime win, 6 defeats. Conceded quite a lot, actually. Scored 87, but conceded 58, which is the most in the top 4. They have 38 points, so 3 points behind the Chieftains, having played 3 games more. In fifth, the Romford Buccaneers played 18, won 7, 2 overtime wins, 1 overtime loss, 8 defeats, 26 points. In sixth, having a weekend off this weekend and the following weekend coming, the Invicta Dynamos played 18, won 8, 1 overtime loss, 9 defeats, 25 points. In seventh, the Swindon Wildcats played 17, won 7, 1 overtime loss, and 9 defeats, 22 points. In eighth, the Oxford City Stars, occupying that final playoff position, played 19, so also halfway through their season, won 4, 15 defeats, 129 goals against, which is quite a few, 12 points. In ninth, the Cardiff Fire played 16, won 2, 1 overtime defeat and 13 losses. They are creeping towards that 100 goal mark conceded. And bottom of the table are the MK Thunder, played 19, so also again just over halfway through their league season. 1-1, lost 18, scored 30, conceded 173. I think that will start to tighten up as we get a little bit further through the season, though. And as we've said from that game just there, certainly playing a much better disciplinary game will certainly serve their goals against tally well as they move forward. Let's look at the fixtures then for the coming weekend. We are now in December. It is now okay to put a Santa hat on everything. So next Saturday, the 7th of December, only a couple of games. 5:15 at the Sapphire, the Romford Buccaneers host the Oxford City Stars in the league. And 5:30 at the High Road as the Cardiff Fire make their way to Streatham for a League Cup league tie on the 7th. Into the Sunday, and we have 4 games, and they are starting at 5:45 at the Hangar as the Romford Buccaneers fly into town to take on the Slough Jets. 6 p.m. at the Riverside as the Chelmsford Chieftains host the Swindon Wildcats in the league. 6:15 at the Oxpens, Oxford City Stars versus Streatham Redhawks. That game last year threw up a little bit of a surprise result as Oxford beat Streatham 3-2, but we'll see what goes down there. And the final game of that Sunday, of course, it is listed at 6:45. It will more than likely be a 7:30 p.m. face-off. We'll confirm that later in the week for MK Thunder versus Solent Devils in the league and cup. That is particularly important in the cup for the Solent Devils, as after losing the overtime game to the Invicta Dynamos, that gave them a little sort of point up in the cup. So we'll have a look at those cup tables. Streatham Redhawks are 100% qualified for the semi-finals. They've played 7, won 7, so they are there. Solent Devils are in third. Invicta Dynamos are in second, but Invicta have played 1 game more, so obviously they're having a weekend off this weekend, and Solent will now go level on games, and if they can beat the MK Thunder, they will go ahead on points. So it will then come down to that final game to see who qualifies for the semi-finals in second. So Streatham will definitely face the team that finished second in the Britain Cup Table B group, which is confirmed that it is Slough and it is Chelmsford, but it is yet to be decided which way round they go. Obviously, they have to play each other. I think it's one more time to qualify for the cup, because they do have the defeat against Slough, which was in the league and cup. And of course, the overtime win, that's the point difference, because Chelmsford's overtime win against Romford gives them that point less, although they have played a game more than Slough. So that is really the game that it all hinges on, as to whether we're going to get Chelmsford versus Streatham or Chelmsford versus Solent or Invicta. It's all very tight and very, very exciting, and we'll keep you 100% up to date on it as it all goes through the cup, because the semi-finals are coming, I believe, in the last week or the last week of January or first week of February. We'll get the cup semi-finals, so we'll obviously know well for sure by then. I would imagine we'll actually know before the end of Christmas exactly who is going to be playing who. Just confirming now that those cup semi-finals are, I think they're actually the last week of February. But again, we'll confirm once they all get confirmed. But there's so much going on in that cup now. Very, very exciting, very, very competitive. And I know that it's I think everyone wants to see different names on the silverware this year. And it certainly has been a much more competitive start. So coming later this week, we are making a little bit of UK podcast history. We are going to dual cast an episode across 2 podcast platforms. We're going to be having Annabelle Trami from the Invicta Dynamics join us, and that episode will go out both on Zero Pucks Given and on ZPG Ice Maidens. So myself and Adam Mackman will be with Annabelle Trami this week, and that episode will be coming out a little bit later on. Then we've got some other stuff confirmed towards the end of the year. For the following week, we've got Elis Sheppard from Cardiff Fire coming on, so we'll be discussing how hockey goes down in Wales. And then we've got Hayden Hunter from England Ice Hockey, just trying to lock down a date. That will probably be the Christmas special. And then as we start going into January, we'll have Callum Perella Fox from the Solent Devils. And I've still got to try and lock a date down with Haldon Barnes Garner from Chelmsford Chieftains. And we are just trying to get, a few little surprises, as we like to do every now and again, go from sort of outside the Britain division, maybe even outside of British hockey, and get some guests from out there. So we'll certainly try to get a little bit more exciting stuff for you there. And of course, if anyone has any ideas, suggestions, or you want to be a part of Hockey Night Live in 2025, let me know and we'll see what we can do. Thank you so much for listening to the roundup episode for this week. I've just about got through it. I can't really feel my throat too much. My voice feels like it's kind of taken the brunt of a long weekend in Barcelona with a lot of food and a lot of drink, but I managed to get home in time to take in a game at least at Chelmsford as they beat Romford this weekend. So thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.